The city wears February like a shroud. Wind slashes through steel canyons, rattling discarded bottles, pushing rappers like tired ghosts across pavement. Neon lights blink half-heartedly, trying to outshine the moonless sky. On the marble steps of an abandoned library, a man sits wrapped in a coat patched more times than sewn. His skin is dark, his beard coarse, his fingers raw from cold. His name is Isaiah. Once he repaired engines in a small garage, but the garage closed, jobs vanished, and now he drifts. Sometimes sleeping in shelters, often in alleys, always invisible. He holds no sign, no begging cup. He simply sits, shoulders squared, eyes lifted as if searching past the towers for something greater. From across the street, another man watches. He stands beneath the awning of a chauffeured black car, gloved hands clasped behind his back. He wears wealth the way others wear coats, naturally, thoughtlessly. His name is Victor Langston, billionaire investor, feared negotiator. For him, everything has a price. But tonight he watches Isaiah with unusual intent. Because tonight Victor intends to test a theory, one born not of science but of cynicism. All men have a price, Victor mutters. Even the forgotten. The driver raises a brow, but says nothing. Victor straightens his coat, crosses the street, and approaches the steps. His shoes click against stone, echoing in the hollow night. Isaiah lifts his gaze, wary but calm. Evening, Victor says. Isaiah nods once. You don't know me, Victor continues, but I know something about men like you. You want out of this life, and I can give you away. Isaiah studies him. What's the catch? Victor's lips curl into a smile both sharp and cold. One simple thing. A lie. Tell the world something I want them to hear. Do that, and I'll pay you $1 million. The words hang in the air like smoke. Isaiah blinks slowly. He expected coins, maybe pity. Not this. $1 million, the weight of more than one lifetime, dangled before him like forbidden fruit. Victor leans closer. You don't have to believe it. Just say it. Publicly. A statement at a press conference. I'll handle the rest. In exchange, you'll never spend another night in the cold. Silence. The city groans in the distance. Sirens, engines, laughter spilling from bars. Yet on these steps the world narrows to two men, two choices. At last, Isaiah speaks. His voice is deep, steady, carrying no tremor of temptation. No. Victor stiffens. You don't even want to hear the details? Isaiah shakes his head. Doesn't matter. A lie's a lie. $1 million won't buy me peace when I sleep. Victor chuckles, incredulous. Peace? What has peace ever bought you? Look at you, shivering, hungry, forgotten. I'm offering salvation. Isaiah meets his gaze with eyes that do not flinch. No, you're offering chains. Gold ones, maybe, but chains all the same. Victor's smile falters. He has purchased senators, journalists, entire companies with less resistance. Yet here, on these steps, a man with nothing refuses him flat. Think carefully. Victor presses, voice low. One word from you could change your life forever. Isaiah leans forward. My life isn't for sale. Not for $1. Not for $1 million. Not for all the gold you hide in those towers. The words strike Victor harder than any boardroom defeat. For the first time in years, he feels exposed, as if Isaiah's refusal shines a light on the emptiness behind his empire. He stands abruptly, tugging his coat tighter. You're a fool. Isaiah shrugs. Maybe, but I'd rather be a fool with truth than a king with lies. Victor turns to leave, yet his steps hesitate. Something in Isaiah's tone, unpolished, unwavering, gnaws at him. He expected compliance, not conviction. Back inside the car, Victor cannot shake the echo. A lie's a lie. Peace can't be bought. And so the inciting incident crystallizes. What began as an experiment of arrogance has cracked the shell around Victor's heart. He will return, compelled not by pity but by a hunger he cannot yet name. The hunger for truth that money cannot buy. The story has begun. Victor Langston should have walked away. That was his plan. Make the offer, prove his theory, return to the penthouse convinced that every soul bends to wealth. But Isaiah's refusal unsettles him, gnawing at the edges of his certainty. He spends the night staring out floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights glittering below like jewels he owns but cannot touch. Wine sits untouched. His phone buzzes with messages from advisors, politicians, women who orbit his fortune. None of it soothes the echo in his chest. I'd rather be a fool with truth than a king with lies. By morning, resolve breaks. He must see Isaiah again, not to offer more money, but to understand. He finds him near the riverfront, patching a blanket around his shoulders, speaking softly to a stray dog that has claimed him as companion. Victor approaches, this time without the smug smile, without the sharp tone of a negotiator. You're still here, Victor says. Isaiah glances up. Where else would I be? I thought you might reconsider. Isaiah shakes his head slowly. You don't get it. I didn't refuse because I'm stubborn. I refused because truth is all I have left. Take that, and I'm less than nothing. Victor lowers himself onto the bench beside him. The wood feels foreign against his tailored coat. He watches the river churn darkly under the morning light. You think truth matters more than survival? Isaiah rubs his hands together for warmth. Without truth, survival's just breathing, not living. The words land heavy. Victor studies Isaiah, this man stripped of everything yet somehow more whole than anyone in his empire. Against his instincts, he returns again the next day and the day after. Soon their talks become routine. Over stale coffee in paper cups, they trade stories. Isaiah of his childhood in Georgia, a mother who sang hymns while scrubbing floors. Victor of boardrooms where silence could be bought with stock options. Isaiah listens, head tilted, not impressed by Victor's wealth but curious about the hollow behind it. You've got the world, but you sit here with me. Why? Victor struggles for an answer. Because you said no. And no one says no to me. Isaiah smiles faintly. Maybe that's the problem. Weeks drift by. The billionaire and the homeless man walk together through alleys that reek of damp cardboard and through parks where children chase pigeons. Victor learns to see the city through Isaiah's eyes, not as assets and liabilities, but as people with names, faces, hungers. One afternoon, Isaiah guides him to a soup kitchen. Volunteers bustle, ladling broth into chipped bowls. Isaiah greets each worker by name, accepted not as burden but as brother. Victor hesitates at the door, unused to entering any place without being announced. Isaiah chuckles. Relax. In here, no one cares who you are. Only that you're hungry. They eat side by side at a long table. The soup is thin, bread stale. Yet Victor tastes something richer than any banquet. Sincerity. Around him, conversations hum with laughter despite rags and weariness. He realizes he has dined in gilded halls yet never felt such warmth. Later, Isaiah takes him to an abandoned church where a handful of homeless gather at night. Candles flicker. Hymns rise softly against cracked plaster. No priest leads, only voices bound by shared need. Victor stands in the shadows, listening. When Isaiah joins the singing, his baritone fills the room, carrying a hymn that trembles with both sorrow and hope. For the first time in decades, Victor feels a stirring he cannot name, a longing not for possession, but for belonging. One night, they sit beneath the library steps again, the dog curled at Isaiah's feet. The city hums distantly. Isaiah begins to hum, not a hymn this time, but a lullaby. The melody is simple, older than memory. The notes float into the night, weaving through street lamps, brushing against the cold air like feathers. Victor stiffens. That song. I know it. Isaiah raises a brow. Doubt it. My mama sang it down in Georgia. Said her mama sang it to her before. Victor's voice falters. My mother sang the same tune. In Boston. She died when I was 12. I haven't heard it since. Silence swells, thick with something beyond coincidence. Two men from different worlds, bound by a melody whispered through generations, meeting now on stone steps. Isaiah nods slowly. Truth travels further than lies. Maybe songs do too. Victor's chest tightens. He feels as if the night itself leans in, confirming what reason cannot explain. A sign subtle, mystical, undeniable. The dog lifts its head, ears pricked, as though it too hears more than music. A breeze stirs, carrying the lullaby down the street, brushing faces of strangers who pause without knowing why. Victor closes his eyes. For the first time in years, he feels small but not in defeat. Small in awe, as if truth itself has wrapped around him, insisting, "There are things your money will never buy." The first miracle has whispered, and the journey deepens. The thaw of early spring does not soften the city's edges. It only reveals more cracks, more broken promises etched in graffiti and crumbling stone. For Isaiah, life continues much the same. Shelters when space allows, alleys when they don't, small mercies shared like bread among the forgotten. But for Victor Langston, the cracks have spread inward. His empire trembles. Rumors swirl of a hostile takeover. Whispers that a government inquiry is circling. Rivals scent blood. Share prices dip. Board members demand action. One evening, Victor arrives at the riverfront with his usual air of control strained thin. His eyes are sharper, voice tighter. "They're coming for me," he admits, pacing. Regulators, competitors, journalists. A single narrative could turn it all. If someone credible stood up and said, "I'm innocent," it could buy me time. You, Isaiah, you could be that voice. Isaiah frowns. "So we're back to this again? You offering me gold chains for a lie?" Victor exhales sharply. "It's not just about me. Thousands of jobs depend on my company. If I fall, they fall. Think of them. Say the words, and you won't just save me. You'll save families." The plea is sharper, almost desperate. For the first time, Victor does not sound like a man offering a test, but a man begging for survival. Isaiah's gaze does not waver. Truth doesn't bend because it's convenient. If your empire needs a lie to stand, then maybe it deserves to fall. The words strike harder than any subpoena. Victor's jaw tightens. "Easy for you to say, sitting out here with nothing to lose." Isaiah leans forward, eyes blazing. "I've lost everything, Langston, but I kept the only thing that matters. My word. And I won't sell it. Not for you, not for anyone." The air between them trembles with tension. Victor turns away, furious yet hollow. For days afterward, he avoids Isaiah. He throws himself into meetings, strategies, desperate maneuvers. But each time he faces the mirror, Isaiah's words echo back. If your empire needs a lie to stand, maybe it deserves to fall. The storm breaks. Headlines splash across screens. Langston under investigation. Stock prices plunge. News anchors speculate. Old allies distance themselves. Victor's penthouse, once a throne, feels like a cage. Calls flood his phone. Lawyers shout in his ear. Yet beneath the noise hums silence, the silence of truth denied. In the alleys, Isaiah watches from donated televisions in mission halls. He sees Victor's face on screens, polished and pale, denying accusations with the practiced ease of a man used to bending truth. Yet Isaiah knows the cost of every word that veers from honesty. They do not meet for weeks. Victor is consumed by defense, Isaiah by survival. The bond, fragile yet real, stretches thin. Then one night, rain lashes the city. Isaiah huddles beneath an overpass when footsteps approach. Victor appears, drenched, disheveled, eyes red from sleepless nights. His coat, though expensive, clings like a shroud. "Why do you keep refusing me?" Victor demands, voice raw. "Do you understand what's at stake?" Isaiah rises slowly, steady despite the storm. "I understand exactly. What's at stake isn't your company. It's your soul." Victor's breath catches, fury dissolving into something closer to despair. He sinks onto the wet ground, head in his hands. For the first time, Isaiah sees not the billionaire but the broken boy beneath. A child who lost his mother too soon, who built towers of wealth to fill the absence, who never learned that some hungers cannot be bought. The rain hammers around them, but in that fragile space, truth hammers harder. Days blur. Investigations deepen. Victor's lawyers craft defenses, but each strategy circles back to the same truth. His empire may not survive. In desperation, he turns again to Isaiah. This time not with offers, but with confession. I don't know how to live without winning. Victor admits one night, his voice ragged. Every battle, every deal, I had to come out on top. And now, I'm losing. I don't know who I am without the fight. Isaiah listens, eyes reflecting the fire of a barrel burning nearby. Maybe it's not about winning or losing. Maybe it's about standing. Truth keeps you standing, even when you fall. Victor shakes his head. Truth won't save me from ruin. Isaiah's gaze softens. Maybe ruin is what will save you. Sometimes you gotta lose everything false before you see what's real. The words cut deep. Victor feels torn between two worlds. The empire that defined him, and the truth Isaiah embodies. He longs for both but knows he can only keep one. The test intensifies when prosecutors offer a deal. If Victor admits partial guilt and cooperates, he may salvage part of his fortune. His lawyers urge him to lie just enough to shift blame, to protect what remains. Victor sits alone in his penthouse, glass walls reflecting a man divided. Papers lie before him, contracts, statements, bargains. His pen hovers. Then he hears it, faint, from memory, or perhaps from the street below. The lullaby, the same tune Isaiah hummed, the same his mother once sang. The notes drift like breath across time, reminding him that there are forces deeper than markets, older than pride. He sets the pen down. The next day, instead of signing, he stands before cameras and speaks. Not polished, not perfect, but true. I have built an empire on ambition. And ambition led me to choices I regret. But tonight, I will not ask you to believe in me. I ask you only to believe in truth. It may cost me everything, but it is the one thing money cannot buy. Shock ripples through boardrooms, across networks, through the alleys where Isaiah watches. The world waits to devour him. Yet for the first time in his life, Victor feels free. The fallout is brutal. Stocks crash further. Properties freeze. Allies vanish. Victor Langston becomes a headline not of triumph but of fall. And yet, not all is lost. For in the streets, whispers rise of respect. A billionaire spoke truth, unvarnished, unbought. Some call it weakness. Others call it courage. Isaiah finds him days later, standing outside the Naomi house shelter. Victor looks thinner, wearier, yet somehow lighter. You told the truth, Isaiah says simply. Victor nods. Because you showed me how. They stand together in silence, the city bustling indifferently around them. But in that silence, a bond deeper than contracts or charity forms. A brotherhood carved by fire and sealed by truth. The test of faith has been endured. Darkness has passed. Dawn waits. The days after Victor's public confession feel like walking barefoot on shattered glass. Reporters swarm. Lawsuits loom. Banks tighten their fists. For the first time in decades, Victor Langston tastes the bitter flavor of power slipping away. Yet beneath the panic, a strange calm brews. He told the truth. The world may punish him, but his conscience is silent, his sleep untroubled. For the first time since boyhood, he dreams of his mother's face without shadows. One evening, exhausted, he wanders back to the riverfront. Isaiah sits on the same bench where their paths first crossed, the stray dog curled loyally at his feet. Victor lowers himself beside him. Silence lingers. Then Isaiah says quietly, "You look different, lighter." Victor chuckles, hollow but honest. "That's because I've lost half my empire." Isaiah studies him. "Maybe you lost what was never really yours." Victor exhales, his eyes glassy. "I thought I needed lies to hold it all together. But your refusal, it saved me. Do you understand? If you'd said yes, if you'd taken the money, I would have buried myself deeper. You forced me to face truth. And somehow that freed me." Isaiah leans back, gaze turned skyward. Sometimes the hardest mercy is the one that feels like rejection. At that moment, a wind rises off the river, cold but pure, carries with it a faint sound, distant, impossible. The lullaby, not from Isaiah's lips, not from Victor's memory, but from the air itself, as though the city hums it through bricks and steel. Victor shivers. Do you hear that? Isaiah nods slowly, reverently. Truth has its own song. The moment feels sacred, stitched from threads unseen. Two men, once divided by wealth, now united by a refusal. A miracle wrought not by gain, but by loss. Weeks turn to months. Victor's empire contracts, but it does not die. Investors return, slowly, drawn not by manipulation but by a new vision he casts. At shareholder meetings he speaks of transparency, of responsibility. Some sneer, but others, weary of corruption, rally. Meanwhile, Isaiah's life shifts, not into riches but into dignity. With Victor's quiet support, he moves into a modest apartment near the shelter. He begins repairing bicycles for neighborhood children, his hands finding purpose in grease and gears. Word spreads. Soon parents bring him work. One afternoon, Victor visits the workshop. Children scatter around, laughing as Isaiah adjusts a chain or patches a tire. The billionaire stands awkwardly at first, then smiles. A smile not rehearsed, not staged, but real. You built something, Victor says. Isaiah wipes his hands, grinning. Just fixing what's broken. Victor looks around. Maybe that's all any of us should be doing. Later, they walk through the city together. Not as benefactor and recipient, not as king and subject, but as brothers. Passers-by stare at Victor, some recognizing him, some whispering. He does not flinch. He walks with Isaiah openly, unashamed. They pause at the steps of the library where it all began. The stone is still cold, the graffiti unchanged. Yet the memory now carries warmth. Victor says softly, "This is where I offered you $1 million for a lie, and you gave me the truth for free." Isaiah smiles. "Best deal you ever made." Victor laughs. A sound that startles even himself, rich and unguarded. The dog barks, wagging its tail as if to seal the moment. Above them, the evening sky glows with the first hint of stars. The resolution is clear. Not wealth, not lies, but truth and brotherhood stand. The seasons turn. Summer gilds the city with warmth. Autumn scatters its golden leaves, and still the bond between Victor and Isaiah deepens. Naomi House, the shelter Victor funds quietly in Isaiah's sister's name, blossoms into a haven. Children run through its halls, volunteers cook meals fragrant with spices from every culture, and murals bloom on the walls. Hands clasping, eyes lifted, seeds sprouting into trees. At the center of the largest mural, Isaiah's words are painted bold. Truth is the only roof that never leaks. Victor often visits, not in tailored suits but in rolled-up sleeves. He helps serve meals, awkward at first but growing steady. People whisper, "That's Langston, the billionaire." But soon they stop seeing a billionaire. They see a man carrying trays, listening, laughing. A man human at last. Isaiah, meanwhile, becomes more than counselor. He becomes a teacher. He leads workshops for men and women on the edge, speaking of dignity, of how to hold on to truth even when everything else is stripped away. His voice carries weight not because of fame but because of scars. One night, after a long day, Victor and Isaiah sit on the shelter's rooftop. The city glitters around them, indifferent yet strangely beautiful. Victor speaks softly. "Do you ever regret refusing me?" Isaiah shakes his head. "Never. If I'd taken that money, I'd have lost myself. And if I'd let you buy a lie, you'd have lost yourself too." Victor exhales, eyes moist. "You gave me something money never could. A chance to be real." Isaiah smiles faintly. "That's the only kind of wealth worth having." They sit in silence as the wind stirs. Somewhere below, a child hums the lullaby. The sound drifts upward, weaving into the night air like a benediction. Both men close their eyes, listening. Two souls carried by a song older than their pain, stronger than their pride. The city may forget tomorrow's headlines, but this moment endures. The narrator's voice returns, gentle and solemn. In a world obsessed with price tags and bargains, a billionaire discovered that the greatest treasure cannot be purchased. He offered a fortune for a lie, but received a greater gift, the unshakable truth of a man who had nothing but integrity. The homeless man remained poor in possessions, yet rich in spirit. The billionaire remained wealthy in assets, yet was reborn in honesty. Together they built something neither could have alone. A brotherhood founded on truth, a legacy that would outlast gold. Remember this: money can buy silence, but it cannot buy peace. Can buy obedience, but never respect. Can build empires, but it cannot build trust. Only truth, held in love, has the power to heal, to unite, to create miracles unseen by markets. The million-dollar lie was refused, and in that refusal, a greater fortune was revealed. A life where dignity stands taller than towers, and where even the forgotten sing songs that outlast kings. So, when the world tempts you to sell your soul, recall their story. Stand firm, for truth, once kept, becomes a light no storm can extinguish. The voice fades to a whisper, because some truths cannot be bought. They can only be lived. The screen fades to black,